What's going on, YouTube? Wanted to start this video off by asking y'all if you like this video and like some of the other content that I've done, to go ahead, hit the like button so that way it pops up a little higher in the algorithms, and to share it on social media, trying to grow the channel a little bit. So any help that y'all could do to maybe give me a little bit more visibility would be greatly appreciated. So today I wanted to talk about a pretty controversial subject, which is abortion, and a libertarian argument against abortion, which is a pretty marginalized belief in the libertarian community. So I know that if you are a libertarian, you're probably already standing by to smash that dislike button and crucify me, but let me explain first, all right? And I'd like to start this off, right, by explaining something to those that might not hold libertarian views or don't know too much about it. So libertarianism has something called the Nonaggression Principle, and it's pretty much the founding premise on policy decisions for the rest of libertarian thinking. But the non-aggression principle is a very simple way to decide whether or not something should be legal or not in libertarian ideology. So the non-aggression principle states that if it can cause harm, it should be illegal. And if it doesn't cause harm, also known as things like victimless crimes, then it should not be legal. That should be a moral thing, such as a taboo or something like that. But as far as the legality of it, people should be able to live their lives. So when it comes to the idea of abortion, right, it's a question, for me at least, on the personhood of a fetus, right? And this is where it starts to get into the mud, because there's a few different philosophical views on personhood. I prescribe to the belief that personhood is a ticket to society, right? And can only be relinquished by committing inhumane or malicious acts, such as a murderer that has killed an entire family, something like that. That is an inhumane act and would relinquish them their ticket of personhood. Some other prescribers to this, there's the gradient theory of personhood, to where this is where a lot of people prescribe to, but I think that it's kind of a dangerous idea. So the gradient theory of personhood says that personhood is not a zero-sum game, that you can have more personhood or less personhood by your actions. But by going through that philosophy, I think you can get into some really dark stuff like racism and stuff like that, saying that maybe somebody that doesn't look like you doesn't quite have the same personhood as you, and therefore certain acts might be justified against them. So I do not accept the gradient theory of personhood at all. So since I prescribe to the belief that personhood is a ticket that's inherent to you, it gets into, is a fetus a person? And I believe it is. I don't really think that you could call it much else. Now, the line kind of gets blurred on where that ticket of personhood is given to the fetus. Some people say it's at conception, some people like the heartbeat. Apparently most Americans like it around the 23rd week when they start to feel pain. I don't really think that this is something that's that clear and dry. I personally like the heartbeat. There's no religious or scientific reason why. I just think that it's a good starting point for myself. So I believe that once the heartbeat has started, that's a person. Their organs are starting to develop, and they've been granted that ticket of personhood. So at this aspect, right, abortion is no longer just ridding the fertilized egg, right? It's murdering a person. And since murdering a person obviously fails the non-aggression principle, I believe that even under libertarianism, abortion should be illegal, right? And I go further than most. A lot of Americans seem to think that that it's okay in acts of incest or rape, or if the mother's life is threatened. I do not believe that abortion is okay, even in acts of incest or rape. If the mother's life is threatened, that's one thing, right? Because then it's her life versus the fetus, and she has the right to protect her life. But as far as incest or rape, they're horrible, they're terrible, but I don't think that you can justify murdering someone just because you were raped. I understand how stressful that might be, how insanely hard on the mother that might be, but adoption is an option. I just don't believe that murdering the innocent child is a solution to that. So I know that there's a lot of confusion when it comes to libertarianism. There's a lot of different libertarians. Some, not many, but some are even more on the left side of the spectrum than the right. But what they can all adhere to is the non-aggression principle, right? If you don't adhere to the non-aggression principle, I think that qualifies you as something other than libertarian, right? And that's not a no true Scotsman's fallacy. That is the founding principle, besides free trade, of libertarianism. Libertarianism is it's not something that's really that new. It's a furthering of classical liberalism, and that a person's rights supersede state rights. I understand that a lot of libertarians don't want it to be, they might disagree with the morality of abortion, but they don't want it to be illegal because they don't want the government involved in healthcare, right? But I don't think that you can call murder healthcare, right? If you really break it down into philosophical arguments about it, and you get down to where your own personal feelings of personhood start, that it overrides the idea that it's just a medical procedure, right? I mean, there's even evidence because some people survive these. I saw an interview with someone who was missing an arm. They actually survived a late-term abortion where, they go in, they basically dissect the child from the inside and pull him out in pieces. It was failed, but they managed to take his arm. So that's something that a lifelong problem that he has from this medical procedure. So I want to get it through that just because someone says that they're libertarian, right, that it doesn't mean they're an anarchist. Libertarians don't believe in no rule of law. They believe in simple and common sense laws. And I hate using that word because it's a buzzword that seems to be attached to gun control at this point. But a very simple way to look at it is, does this law have the ability to prevent somebody from being harmed? If yes, then it should be law. If no, it should not be law. And also, if by protecting someone, this causes further demonstrable harm to somebody else, it should not be law. That kind of gets murky on, well, what is more harmful or not, but it can be reconciled. You can figure it out pretty easily. So to you fellow libertarians that are watching this, I hope at the very least I gave you something to think about on the matter. Maybe question whether or not your stance on pro-choice or pro-life is feasible. If you can have that Socratic argument with yourself and figure out exactly where you stand on the issue, not just morally, but also on the legal perspective. And for those of you who aren't libertarians, I also hope that this not only gave you an argument on why it should not be legal. For those of you that are pro-choice, maybe it gave you something to think about, and for those of you that are pro-life, maybe it gave you another argument that you can use when presenting your position. So yeah. Again, if you like this video, go ahead, share it around, hit that like button, and I will catch y'all next time. All right, take it easy.